What if Naruto was the son of the Forger God? Part 1. Naruto. Son of the Forger, champion of the wise by spirit soldier. Disclaimer. I do not own Percy Jackson or Naruto. Chapter 1. He won. He won. He would have been dancing with joy had it not been for the large hole on the side of his chest. Naruto Uzumaki's mission was simple enough: find Sasuke, kick his ***, then drag him back to the village. He held back, seeing as the Uchiha, traitor or not, was ordered not to be killed or lethally harmed. That was a horrible decision, one that he was regretting now. Naruto was a 13-year-old boy with a lean build, lightly tanned skin, azure blue eyes and sun-kissed hair that had a couple of red and brown streaks here and there. He was wearing black Anbu-style armor with black and orange camo pants. But the most striking features about him were the 3 whisker-like birthmarks on each cheek. Naruto Uzumaki was a Jinchuriki, a human sacrifice in a sense, doomed to house the 9-tailed demon Kyuubi in his navel. But more importantly, he was doomed to live a life of prejudice and hatred in his own village. Because of the aforementioned demon's attack on his birthday and the consequent sealing of said demon into him, the peaceful citizens of Konohagakure no Sato turned their hatred onto him. A little kid, very mature. Anyway, Naruto had a pretty hard life, kicked out of the orphanage at the ripe age of 4, beaten on his birthday before his protectors came to his aid, couldn't buy anything but overpriced and faulty or rotten items, and had his education stunted. Oh joy! But if anything, the blonde was resourceful and cunning, running off to a place called the Forest of Death, and building a house in it. He tried to live off anything he could hunt, fish or pick, or in case he was in need of any vital items, stole from some of the jerks that mistreated him. That was also where he met his surrogate mother, Anko Mitarashi, or as she put it, the great sexy and single Anko-sama. At first, things were a bit on edge with Naruto's trust issue, not to mention Anko's dislike of cheeky brats, but then things got better and the snake mistress took on her first apprentice, even if poor Naruto sometimes regretted that decision due to how tortuous her training had been. 2 years later, the Hokage found him and gave him a home at a small apartment. Plagued by paranoia, Naruto started building some traps, harmful and even lethal, to protect himself from any possible attack by the villagers, which were pretty numerous. Despite Naruto's bitterness towards most of the villagers, he managed to befriend some of the younger generation despite their parents' disapproval. His first friend was Hinata, followed by Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, Tenten, Lee, and more. He also met Anko's friend, Kurenai. The only people he never got along with were Sasuke and Sakura, who he nicknamed Duckhead and Banshee. He also became friends with people outside the village like Zabuza, Haku, Koyuki, Gaara, and many more. He went on tough missions and battles, but managed to make a new friend on most of them. Naruto sighed and groaned in pain. He was supposed to get Sasuke back to the village with no lethal injuries by the order of Tsunade. She wanted to class the Uchiha as a missing nin, but the council wouldn't let her, stubborn idiots. He completed the mission. Sasuke was lying unconscious at his side while our blonde hero bled from his injuries. Naruto's eyes were slowly closing, accepting the embrace of unconsciousness. Despite the fact that he could die from blood loss, he was nothing but smiles. He was a Jinchuriki, a human sacrifice. Death couldn't be worse than the pain he endured throughout his young life. He lived a life without regrets, and that's what makes it well lived. The last thing he saw was a bright light before his world turned black. Hephaestus POV in Minato's form, Hephaestus looked at his son with sad eyes. It's been 13 years since he had last seen Naruto. When he got stabbed by the 9 tails, he lost most of his strength and had to get it back slowly so he could see his son. When he got a third of his strength back in the 4th year, he opened the mist to see how his son was doing. When he saw what happened, he had different emotions. One of them was anger at the village. Another is pride for his son and his strength, and the last one is regret for leaving him with his fate. When he got back to 100%, he opened the portal immediately and went to get his son. He waited 13 years to see his son, and he'd sooner fade than putting this off any longer. Now, here he was standing above the body of his injured son, one of the best and surely the most determined lads he ever had, with tears threatening to fall from his eyes. I'm sorry Naruto, Hephaestus thought. I should have never sealed that thing into you. I'll make up for the mistakes I made and help you become a strong demigod. He suddenly sensed another presence and he turned to see Kakashi stare at him with wide eyes. SSSSS sensei. Kakashi stuttered out, his eyes widened in disbelief. Hephaestus turned to him and gave him a strong glare. Hello Hatake. Glad to see you're here till you can pick up the Uchiha, Hephaestus said coldly, and just so you know, I saw everything you and the villagers did. Kakashi paled at that. I saw how the villagers tried to hurt him, physically and emotionally, how they tried to stunt his growth, and I saw how the 3 people I trusted abandoned him for very pathetic reasons. You are like the villagers. You abandon someone you're supposed to keep watch on and dismiss your motto. Those who abandon the mission are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. It seems as though you think it doesn't apply to you. You're a hypocrite and a failure in my eyes, my foolish student. He then formed a fire portal and turned away from him. Every village will know about this, about how the village treated Naruto. I hope you're proud of yourself. He then left, leaving a grief-stricken ninja behind. Kakashi fell on his knees, lost and devastated by this. He had let his hatred blind him, not to the point of hurting his sensei's son, but to the point of ignoring his pleas for help and acknowledgement, seeing him as the cause of his sensei's disappearance. What have I done? He questioned himself. Hephaestus' workshop. Hephaestus sat Naruto down against the wall. He grabbed some nectar and ambrosia and fed it to his son so his healing would increase. Immediately, the hole started healing up and it looked like it'll heal in minutes. Hephaestus nodded. Okay, now I can work on my projects. Just before he could do anything, there was a flash behind him and he looked to see Athena glaring at him with her patented glare. Hephaestus, tell me, why did 4 volcanoes erupt in Asia just now? Athena asked with narrowed eyes. Hephaestus sighed. This would take a lot of explaining to do. 15 minutes later, Athena thought for a minute at what Hephaestus told her. She should tell father about this, but Hephaestus told her to keep it a secret for a while. Understandable, considering father might kill Naruto. Also, she was intrigued with this boy. He was really intelligent from what she heard, not in book smarts but more in her domain, battle strategy and tactics. He was also resourceful and cunning, one of the many things she values. Maybe. Hephaestus. The Forge God looked at her, waiting for her to continue. I have a suggestion. You need help to protect the child when Zeus finds out. You cannot take him alone. How about I take him as my champion? Hephaestus looked intrigued at the prospect. He would need help and Athena is one of smartest and most responsible Olympians. Hephaestus nodded. Okay, you can make him your champion. Just make sure you protect him. Athena nodded and flashing out, leaving the forger to do his work. Hours later, Naruto slowly opened his eyes, still a bit drowsy and sore. After they adjusted to the light, he looked around to see where he was. When he saw the place, his eyes popped wide open. He saw weapons of every kind, from past to present, some he doesn't even recognize. Bows, swords, kunais, he even saw some seals, much to his excitement. Seals were his favorite weapons to use. Like them, Naruto turned to see a burly man at his side, sitting down on a large chair. The man was burly, big enough to crush him. His face looked to have lots of boils and he had a scruffy beard on him. He was wearing a jumpsuit with lots of grease on it and if you looked closely, you could see a small smile on his face. Naruto's eyes shined with excitement. Like them. I love them. Especially the seals. Oh, I would like to test out every single weapon and I would love to use that workshop to build a weapon of my own. He kept talking in an excited voice, until he remembered something. Then he turned to the man, his eyes narrowed. Who are you and where are we? Hephaestus smiled. We're at my workshop. Here, I build any weapon for my siblings, father, mother, uncles, and aunts. He got up from his seat and stretched his back. As for who I am, tell me, do you believe in gods? Naruto thought the question was a bit strange. Naruto looked thoughtful for a minute, then came up with an answer. Well, I can't say I do or don't. I've never seen one before and there are endless possibilities. I guess I'll believe it when I see it. Hephaestus held out his hand and created fire right in front of his eyes. Naruto's eyes widen, then widen even more. The man just formed fire without any hand seals. And just now, he could sense the power of this man, and he was stronger than the Nine Tails. My name is Hephaestus, but you know me as Minato Namikaze, god of the forges, fire, and volcanoes. Son of Hera and Zeus and your father. 10 years later, Percy looked shocked at how many arrows were sticking out of Thorn, the manticore. Inwardly, he was cursing any of the gods or goddesses immensely. He just wanted one normal time with Talia, Annabeth, and Grover, but that seems to be too much to ask for. He doesn't blame Grover for this, but come on, how many times does he have to fight monsters? Thorn hissed in pain and pulled the arrows out. He looked at the blonde-haired girl with gray eyes, named Annabeth Chase, when she sighed in relief, the hunters. A girl who was wielding a spear and dressed like a punk, with lengthy black hair and hands sparkling with blue lightning, groaned, "Oh wonderful." Percy looked to where the arrows were shot from and was shocked. The attackers were young girls, most of them his age, and some appeared to be a year or two younger. One stood in the front, a girl with long black hair and a silver circlet around her head, and in the back was a girl who barely looked 12 or 13. She had the aura of a leader. "Shall I end it, milady?" the one in the front asked. "No," the 13-year-old girl said, "he is going to do it." Zoe smiled at that, confusing the demigods. "Who are they talking about? Why, you cannot do this." Thorn snarled, glaring at the huntress with hate, anger, and fear in his eyes. "It's forbidden by the ancient laws." "On the contrary," the girl said, "all wild animals fall under my domain, Manticore, and last time I checked, your species could be considered such. Besides," the girl got a small smirk, "it's not me you should be worrying about." "What are you talking about?" Thorn snarled. "Who else is here? How about look behind you and find out?" Thorn turned around, just in time to see a giant axe embedded in his chest. Thorn howled in pain, and on his knee, he looked up to see a gray cloak-wearing hooded man. How did you sneak up on me?" Thorn said weakly, glaring at the man. The man pulled out the axe and readied it for a swing. "I don't tell my skills to the enemy," he then chopped off the head, making Thorn turn to dust. The man put his axe behind him and pulled out a bow from in his cloak and pointed it at someone behind the hunters. He let it fly, hitting the helicopter and embedding it inside the pilot's chest. The helicopter went haywire and crashed in the ocean. There were a few minutes of silence. Percy, in sheer amount of bravery or stupidity, pulled out Riptide and pointed it at the man's neck, making every hunter, including the leader, pull out their bows and point the arrows at Percy. "Who are you?" Percy asked, ignoring the glares the hunters were sending him. The man sighed. He put the bow back into his cloak and pulled his hood down. Annabeth, Talia, and Grover gasped while Percy looked at him. The man looked at least 17 or older. He had sun-kissed spiky blonde hair, with red and brown streaks on top, and his eyes were a mixture of sky blue, fiery red and stormy gray. He had tan skin and exotic whisker marks on his cheeks. Annabeth and Talia looked shocked, extremely happy, though Talia was trying to hide it while Grover looked as if he just found Pan. "I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze," the teen said, "son of Hephaestus and champion of Athena. Pleasure to meet you, Perseus Jackson." Naruto gave him an offer hand. Percy, after getting out of his shock, took it. It was after they finished shaking hands that Naruto punched him hard on the jaws. Percy stepped back, hold his jaws in pain, and was about to uncap Riptide, when he felt an intimidating presence that almost made him choke in air. It felt like the time he, Talia, Annabeth, and Grover met Hades, just not as thick. He looked up to see Naruto glaring at him and eyes changing to pure red. "That," Naruto growled, glaring at Percy with rage in his eyes, "was for endangering the other's squid head. You're lucky that I didn't break your jaws for that recklessness." Naruto is very protective of his friends. One time, back at his old home, he crippled Neji for hurting Hinata and would have taken out his eyes if it wasn't for Hinata's kindness. "Enough, Naruto," the girl said, putting a hand on his shoulder to calm him down. Naruto, after a few breaths, Calm down and smile in thanks, which she returned. Percy, while cradling his jaws, took the time to look at the young. She was no doubt really beautiful with her auburn hair, milky skin, and silver-yellow eyes. His heart skipped a beat when he saw her smile at Naruto. Continue to gawk, Jackson, and I'll break the jaws next time, Naruto warned, making Percy snap his mouth shut. Naruto turned around and smiled at her, and she smiled back. Out of every male in the world, you are the first one I enjoy to see, the auburn girl said. Then she gently hugged the teen. It's good to see you again, Naruto. Naruto smiled even wider and hugged back. It's good to see you too, Artemis. Percy's jaws dropped. That is Artemis. Why is she 12? When the two broke the hugs, two red blurs hit Naruto and got him on the floor. Percy, you look down to see two twin redheads that are at least 10 years old. Naruto. Naruto look up and smile at the two. Hey Lily, hey Rose. Are you enjoying being in the hunt? Yes, all the hunters are really nice and helpful towards us, Lily said, with Rose nodding. Naruto got up and looked to see Zoe approaching, with a friendly smile on her face. That stunned Talia, Annabeth, and Grover, who knew Zoe. Good to see you, Naruto, Zoe said. Naruto smiled and hugged the girl, which she returned with a blush on her face. Good to see you too, Zoe-chan, Naruto said. Zoe stepped back and she, Naruto, and Artemis looked at the frightened children behind Grover. The girl looked about 13, with black hair that is under a green floppy hat, olive skin and dressed in bland clothing. The boy next to her looked about 10 with the same hair and skin, but dressed friendlier. The two black eyes lock on the goddess, hunters, and demigods. Www, who are you people? The girl asked hesitantly. Artemis went to speak with the girl, but Naruto stopped her, shook his head. Artemis, I know what you're thinking, but let me talk to her first. Please, Artemis sighed, but nodded under Naruto's pleading eyes. Naruto walked up to the group, smiled at Talia, Annabeth, and Grover briefly, before looking at the children. Hey Nico, hey Bianca. Do you remember me? The two siblings look at him with confusion before widening in shock. And Naruto? Nico asked in shock while Bianca is the same and got a little blush on her face. They met Naruto at the Lotus Casino a couple of months back. When they got out, he took care of them for a bit and helped them survive. Before he left, he gave them enough money to travel and survive. Needless to say, they are eternally grateful for the blonde. Naruto smiled. Yep, it's me. Glad to see you remember, but before I say anything, let me ask you two things. First, remember when I told you that your father was alive? The two nodded. Okay, and did you brush up on Greek mythology? The two nodded again. Why did we need to? Bianca asked hesitantly, taking a step back. Naruto sighed and mentally prepared himself. Because Bianca, everything that is in Greek mythology is real, Naruto stated, making Bianca's eyes widen. The gods, monsters, demigods, everything. And the Lord of the Dead is your father. Awesome, Nico exclaimed, but Bianca shook her head. No, not awesome, Bianca stated, before looking at the group. Is this a sick joke? Naruto frowned and shook his head. No, it is not a joke, Bianca. Most wish it is, but it isn't. He then looked at Nico. Hey Nico, go talk to Grover for a bit. He'll explain things to you. Nico nodded and went to Grover. Naruto then turned to Bianca with a smile. How about we go for a walk, Bianca? Oh okay, Bianca said with a faint blush. Naruto smiled and turned to Zoe Nightshade. Tell Artemis we'll be gone for a moment. Okay. Zoe nodded and went to tell Artemis. Naruto put his hand on Bianca before they vanish in a flash yellow light. Percy saw the flash and cried, hey! Where'd they go? Unknown. Naruto and Bianca reappeared at an unknown place and Bianca fell down, gasping for breath. Naruto smiled apologetically at her and gave her a bottle of water. Sorry about that, he murmured. I forgot that other have problems when I use Hiroshima. Must be because we briefly cross Arrow King, aka Zeus, territory. What was that? She breathed, wide eyes and out of breath. Naruto smiled. A technique only my father and I know, Naruto said, as he helped her stand. it a technique that helps get you from one place to another. It involves opening time and space and can teleport from one place to another. Wow, was all Bianca could say. Naruto grinned. Yeah, it really is a useful ability for anything. Then Naruto turned serious. Okay Bianca, I'm gonna give you 3 choices. But listen fully before you choose. Meanwhile, where are they? They've been gone for half an hour. Percy exclaimed, pacing back and forth. Talia is sitting on the wall, Annabeth is reading a book, and Grover is playing Mythomagic with Nico. Grover looked up from the game. He and Nico are playing. Relax Percy, Bianca is perfectly safe with Naruto. How do you know? Percy asked with a frown before holding his jaws. For all we know, he could be a spy for Lu. Before he could finish, a knife and a spear was embedded near his legs. He looked at the weapons, wide eyes, and then looked up to see Talia and Annabeth glaring at him. Finish that sentence Jackson and I'll gut you where you stand, Talia exclaimed, with Annabeth nodding. Percy frowned at them. Okay, what the deal? Percy asked, crossing his arm. How do you guys know him? Why are protective of him? Who is this guy? Just forget Seaweed Brain, Annabeth sighed, calming down a bit. Inwardly, she is giddy seeing her big brother and no doubt Talia is extremely happy as well, despite her demeanor. No, there is something off about him, Percy said stubborn to the core. He nearly broke my jaws. You're lucky he didn't break your skull, Talia exclaimed. You ignore my instructions and put everyone in danger. If one of us went injured or worse, he would have beaten your soggy butt. Yeah, but I saved them from that manticore, Percy argued, but got cut off when lightning nearly struck him. Talia has lightning in her eyes now. That's not the point, Talia said, her eyes glowing in anger. You didn't have to fight him. You could have led them back with the crowd. But instead you put everyone in danger and Naruto gets mad when his friends are in danger. Your anger issue is yet to be solved, Talia, Zoe said with a smirk, getting the anger eyes snapped at her. She glared at the hunter. By the way Nightshade, I want an explanation on how you know Naruto, Talia demanded. Zoe scowled. It isn't your business, Zoe stated before glaring at the son of Poseidon. Lady Artemis has request for you. Has Naruto returned? Right here, with Bianca. Everyone turned around to see Naruto with Bianca, who looked a bit sickened. Naruto smiled apologetically at Bianca before turning to Zoe. I'm guessing Lady Artemis want to see us Zoe-chan. Zoe nodded. Yes, Milady requested you and Jackson to go with Bianca. What about me? Nico asked, looking up from his game with Grover and getting everyone's attention. I mean, can I come too? Nico, I heard you were missing a character, Naruto said before Zoe could speak, reaching into his cloak and tossing a small figurine to the 10-year-old. The boy caught it in his hand and his eyes widened. Hades, but he's one of the rarest ones. Nico cried out, looking up at Naruto with awe. How'd you get it? My dad had it and gave it to me, Naruto said before looking at Annabeth. Hey Annie, why don't you go play a game of Mythomagic with Nico? Percy half expected for Annabeth to snap at him for calling her Annie, which was why he was baffled when Annabeth just smiled and nodded. Meanwhile, Grover sighed in relief. That game is complicated and he could barely figure it out. Being beaten by a 10-year-old kid 3 times in a row didn't help his ego at all. Naruto looked at Zoe and shook his head. You need to talk to people Zoe. The girl blushed, but nodded. Naruto is right, though she hates to admit it. The tent, sit, Artemis said, gesturing towards the pillow on the floor. Naruto nodded and did so, causing the other 2 to do the same. The blonde sat strong and tall, while Percy and Bianca seemed nervous around the presence of a goddess. 2 hunters are behind them, one glaring at Percy while the other is smiling behind Naruto. Artemis looked at the 2, before setting her gaze on Bianca. So did Naruto tell you of what I'll ask? Artemis asked. Bianca nodded. Artemis waited patiently before sighing. And which offer do you choose? The goddess asked when she realized is waiting for her to speak. Bianca bit her lip and looked at Naruto. The blonde sighed. I just gave you the options Bianca, Naruto said. It's up to you to pick your path and I will support it no matter what it is. And you continue to impress me Naruto. Artemis said with a soft smile. Naruto blushed and scratched his whisker marks, a little embarrassed by the praise. It's not every day you get praise by a man-hater. Wait a minute, what offers? Percy asked, his eyebrows furrowed. Naruto sighed and began to explain. Well, Bianca has 3 choices to choose from, Naruto said, looking at Percy. The first, she can go to Camp Half-Blood. The second is that she can join the Hunters of Artemis. And the third, Naruto pick a kunai from his pouch, is that she can receive training from me and become a shinobi. Wah, but you can't, Percy protested. You have to come to Camp Half-Blood so Chiron can train you. It's the only way you can learn to survive. Naruto gained a tick mark at that. Are you implying that I can't protect her, Jackson? Naruto interjected in an icy tone. Percy ignored Naruto so he can get Bianca to join camp. Bianca, camp is cool. Percy continued to say, it's got Pegasus stable and sword fighting arena. I mean, what do you get by becoming his apprentice? Freedom and training, Naruto stated. What? Percy asked, confused. She is free from the camp and she'll get enough training to protect the ones she loves. What do you mean? Percy asked. You are free to leave camp when you want and you get to train to be a hero there. Then tell me, why do you have curfew there, to make sure all the little heroes get a good night's sleep? And why is the death rate so high for you, demigod? Percy seemed a loss for words for that, so Naruto pressed his advantage. With me, she can learn to stand on her own 2 feet, to not to fear the creatures of the dark, and can learn to protect the ones she cares about. She learn everything I know and become strong. This is crazy, Bianca, Percy muttered, switching gears. What about you, brother? Naruto can't have 2 apprentices, can he? And you would rather her be with the hunters? Naruto interjected once again, to become immortal, to never see her brother again. With me, she can be allowed to stay with her brother, no consequences. But it is not your choice. Naruto then turned to Bianca, it's hers. Bianca looked at Naruto, then at the goddess and, after a few minutes, finally made her choice. I don't want to be afraid, Bianca called. I don't want to lose my brother, but everything happening in so fast pace. Her fist is clenching so tight, that it's white. I know what I'm going to say is selfish, but Nico has been my responsibility for the longest time. I want to be free, to be my own person. I offer you that, Naruto said. You are free to go back to your brother at any time, but you can have the privilege of hunter and a shinobi, freedom to go anywhere you want. And I will teach you to survive this world and give you the power to protect your family. There is much beauty in the world and I don't want you to miss out. You can even teach your abilities to your brother. So what do you say? Bianca bit her lip. An offer like that is something no one can refuse. To get the power to protect the ones you love, to travel around the world, to be free from all responsibility. She can even teach Nico if she wanted. After a few minutes, she finally made her answer. I accept, Bianca said, much to Percy's displeasure. Is there a way to do this? Yes, Naruto said, then pull out a cloth. Hold out your arm for me, Bianca. The girl did just that and Naruto wrapped the cloth around her. Now Bianca, do you accept the responsibility of a shinobi set by me, and to follow my word without question until your apprenticeship is complete? I do, Bianca replied. Then, without warning, the cloth began to glow and some unknown energy began to seep in her skin. Bianca began to glow a faint blue before all the energy entered in Bianca and stopped glowing. Naruto smiled. How do you feel? I feel so alive. Bianca exclaimed. I feel that I can take on the strongest of people and feel that I just got out of a small cage after several months. That the chakra inside you, Naruto said, chuckling a little, all shinobi, or in your case, kunoichi have that inside them. It intensifies your senses and gives you powers you cannot even imagine. So when can we train? Bianca asked, a bit eagerly. Naruto chuckled at that. That kinda remind him of himself when he was younger. When get to Camp Half-Blood, Naruto said, until then, we can get to know each other and you can tell Nico the news. Artemis smiled. If there was any male she can trust, it's Naruto. He proved that more than once. The entire it was going on, Percy had folded on himself. He felt like an intruder and a complete failure. He couldn't believe he came all this way only to lose Bianca to a pretty boy. He admitted that he preferred losing Bianca to Naruto over the hunters, but his wounded pride wouldn't let him admit he was wrong and that camp is the best place for Bianca. Do not despair, Percy Jackson, Artemis said, you will still get to show the D'Angelos your camp. And if Nico chooses, he can stay there. Great, Percy said, trying not to sound surly. How are we supposed to get there? Artemis closed her eyes. Dawn is approaching. Zoe, break camp and get Bianca outfitted with Naruto's basic shinobi outfit. You must to get to Long Island quickly and safely. I shall send for a ride from my brother. Zoe didn't like that idea and Naruto groaned, but she nodded and told Bianca to follow her. As she left, she stopped in front of Percy. I'm sorry Percy, but I want to do this. I really do. Then she was gone and he was left with Artemis and Naruto. So, he started glumly, we're going to get a ride from your brother, huh? Artemis' silver eyes gleamed, yes boy. You see, Bianca is not the only one with an annoying brother. It's time for you to meet my irresponsible and overprotective brother, Apollo. Naruto winced at the overprotective part. That's an understatement. Is your brother still angry with me? Naruto asked. Artemis sighed. I'm not sure, but he will not attack you. Otherwise, Artemis' eyes harden a bit, he would have to deal with me. When Percy and Naruto walked out the tent, the blonde-hair boy was stopped by Annabeth. When he was in the tent, Annabeth was holding in a lot of emotion. Mainly wanting to see if that was really Naruto and hug her big brother to death. Now she got the chance and she's not gonna waste it. Is that you Naruto? Is it really you? She asked. Naruto smiled at the girl and rubbed her head. Yeah it's me, little Annie, Naruto said affectionately. The girl finally let her emotions go and hugged him to death, tears streaming. Percy looked shocked. In the 2 or 3 years he knew Annabeth, he knew that she is a strong girl and would never show emotions like this to anyone. Plus, he felt something uncomfortable in his chest when he saw the two hugging like this. Gods, Naruto, Annabeth croaked out, burying her head in his shoulder, what happened? Everyone thought you were dead. Many things Annie, Naruto said, looking at her gray orbs, I'll tell you and Talia-chan when we get back to camp and settle in. At that, Annabeth conceded and hugged him harder, I miss you Naruto. I missed you to little Annie. When this was happening, the hunters and Percy was looking at Talia, as she approached the boy. Annabeth moved aside and the two stared at one another. Hey Thale-chan, Naruto said warmly. I miss you as well. And just like that, Talia slapped Naruto. You idiot, Talia yelled, tears streaming in her eyes. Where were you? Why didn't you contact us? We all thought you died. Naruto sighed, a build of guilt inside him. I had to do some things Thale-chan, Naruto sighed. I was in other places, rescuing other demigods and doing other missions. I tell you when we get settled into camp, but trust me, you like what I have to tell you. And won't leave you guys again, I promise you that. Naruto was taken by surprise when Talia gave him a powerful hug. It only lasted a few seconds when she pulled back, a light blush on her face. Percy was shocked at this. Talia liked never physical affection, until now. Who is this guy? After a few minutes, a bright light approached them. Artemis lifted her arm up to protect her eyes and everyone else turned their eyes away. When the light dimmed, the gathered demigods and hunters saw a young man with sandy blonde hair, next to a red convertible Maserati Spider. The man was grinning brightly, until he caught the sight of Naruto. The smile fell and Apollo glared at him like he's the bastard Orion. Naruto groaned. Why did Apollo hate him? Hey Artie, what is he doing here? Apollo said in a not-so-cheerful voice. Artemis sighed. When is Apollo going to get that Naruto is not Orion? Naruto helped me with defeating the Manticore, Apollo. Also, Naruto will be going with the hunters and the 5 demigods so you will not harm him. Apollo looked like he wanted to argue, but kept his mouth shut. Now, I will be going to hunt down the Bane of Olympus. You won't harm Naruto again or else. She left the threat hanging with a warning glance. After she left, Apollo started glare at Naruto. Don't think because Arte is on your good book, means that I have to be nice to you, Apollo growled at him. Again, Why do you hate me? Naruto asked, staring back at him just as fiercely. Because if it's about Artemis being friends with me, then get over it. I'm not Orion. Artemis is not supposed to be friends with men. She swore on the sticks. Apollo snapped back at him. Naruto is really getting irritated at his overprotectiveness. No, Artemis swore not to lose her virginity. Naruto retorted. She didn't swear that couldn't make friends with a male. Also, it isn't your choice of who she will make friends with. It's her. So back off, Apollo. Apollo looked he was about to say something, but stopped himself and went to talk to Percy and Talia, who were looking at the scene in shock, along with the other demigods. The only who aren't are the hunters, since they saw this before. Naruto walked in the forest, away from the others, before making a whistling tune. He waited for a moment before a snowy white owl came from the forest and landed on his shoulder. You see, being a champion of Athena has its benefit. For example, you can summon any owl whenever you want. Your brain can process things faster than it usually does. You can come up with battle strategy with a blink in the eye, and like a child of Athena, and you have eidetic memory. So Naruto remembers everything from when he was 13 to the present. I need you to watch Artemis, Naruto said to the owl. Make sure she's okay. If something happens, report to me as quick as you can. The owl nodded and flew in the night sky. After the owl left, Naruto went back with the others. The bus. After an argument from Apollo, Naruto is now on the front wheel to save Talia from driving. See, when Naruto was with Annabeth, Luke, and Talia, he found out that the daughter of Zeus is afraid of heights. He found that out when they had to jump off a high-story cliff. While he was driving, the demigods are talking in the back. Okay, spill it, Percy demanded. How do you guys know Naruto? When did you meet? The son of Poseidon wanted answer, and he gonna get it now. Annabeth sighed. Percy isn't gonna let it go, so she might as well tell him. Okay Percy, we'll tell you. She finally conceded, with Talia nodding in agreement. Talia started first. Okay, you know that me, Annabeth, and Luke were fighting together before went to Camp Half-Blood, right? Percy nodded. Well, what we didn't tell you was that Naruto was with us too. He helped us survive most of the monsters we've encountered. Annabeth nodded. Yeah, he found me first at Washington, D.C. He protected from monsters and kept me safe. She looked down on the floor, a tear falling down from her face. He was like a big brother to me. She don't want to mention that she have a crush on him. Talia started again. Then, a few months later, he run into me and Luke when he was fighting the Minotaur. So for months it was me, Luke, Annabeth, and Naruto. Talia then looked at Naruto, her eyes filled with gratitude and a bit of admiration. He also saved my life, she whispered. Flashback. Talia, Luke, Annabeth, Grover and Naruto are running from a group of monsters. The monsters consist of hellhounds, Cyclops, the three Furies, and many more. The group kept running until one of the Furies, Electo, used her whip to grab Talia's ankle and pull her down. The others stopped running and saw what happening. Now, kill her, Electo screeched to her sisters. The other two got their claws and went for the kill. Talia tried to claw away the whip desperately, but it no good. Electo got a good grip on her. She saw the two Furies descending on her and she closed her eyes, waiting for the pain. She waited for a minute. Then two. Finally, she opened her eyes to see why she doesn't feel any pain when she saw Naruto with his axe in hand and golden dust. If you think you're gonna kill my friend, think again. Naruto growled out to Electo, then turned to Grover. Grover, grab Talia now. I'll catch up to you. Grover looked like he was about to argue, but one stern look from Naruto got him to pick up Talia and run with Luke, who was holding Annabeth to keep her going to Naruto. Talia and Annabeth tried to struggle under the demigod and the satyr's grip, but didn't have the strength to do it and could only hear what's happening. Naruto looked at the army of monsters. There was no fear, no hesitation in his eyes. Just pure determination. To protect his friends, even it meant his death. So without a word, he charged at the army. He swung his axe at the leg of a Cyclops, causing it to fall down on a group of hounds. After that Hellhound jumped up to chop the shoulder of another Cyclops. He dodged a claw from Electo, then swung his axe down on a snake. He kept chopping monster after monster until Electo whipped on the leg, making him hiss in pain and fall down. Naruto looked to where the group, to see there at the edge of the camp. Annabeth is crying, trying to reach him while in Luke's arm, and Talia is weakly doing the same. But most of her stamina is gone and she got an injury to the leg, meaning that she couldn't run to him. Naruto heard a cackle, making him turn to Electo and the horde of remaining monsters. "Any last word, demigod?" Electo said with a smirk. Naruto smirked back, making a lot of monsters uneasy. "Just one, Hiroshima." Naruto disappeared in a flash of yellow, only to appear in front of the camp border. The monsters were confused for a moment, then head keep falling off, bodies separating, and limbs getting capacitated. All the monsters were gone, including Electo. Annabeth, Talia, Luke, and Grover stare at the scene in shock. Naruto walked over to the borderline of Camp Half-Blood and put a silver box on a tree. Suddenly, a shield erupted from it, surrounding the camp and its border. It stopped once it reached the end. Flashback ended. "From then on, we used the tree to protect Camp Half-Blood," Talia said. "It made out of godly energy and ichor, courtesy of Hephaestus. It burned up monsters into oblivion if they ever try to enter." Percy looked at Naruto with different emotion, from shock to a little admiration. The teen protected his friends from certain death, the risk of his own death. He made a wall of fire that protected the demigods for many years. But he still got one more question. If he was at camp, where was he for the 2 years I was at camp? Annabeth was about to answer, until they felt a rumble on the bus. The demigods and hunters looked around the bus, until they felt another rumble. Suddenly, they heard an explosion at the left side of them and some let out a scream of surprised fear. "What the heck?" Naruto yelled. He looked in the rear view mirror to see a large white bird behind them. On the bird is a man with blonde hair, made into a ponytail. Bangs on his right eye while the left got makeup under it. He's wearing a robe that Naruto is all too familiar with. "The Akatsuki," Naruto hissed out. He then saw the blonde-hair man throw something and Naruto maneuver away from it, just in time to see it explode. "Who is that, Whiskers?" Talia yelled out from her seat. Naruto dodged another of those bombs and gave her the quick version. "He is one of the Akatsuki. AS rank ninja from my world. They're extremely dangerous and their goals are to collect all of the tailed beasts." He moved away from another bomb, making a few people scream. Talia clutched her seat tightly, her phobia acting up while others hang on to dear life. "Hang on people," Naruto called out. Naruto then flipped a switch, making the bus change into something else. The bus shape turned circular, wings spread out of the sides. The inside changed as well and the front changed into a pilot seat. The front slowly turned sharp and 2 windows spread on top. The color also changed into black. The bus changed into a jet. Naruto flew the jet up and flew it over the bird. He then went behind and got 2 guns out of the bottom. "Okay birdie, eat bronze bullets." Naruto started shooting, but the man came prepared. He sent out tons of spiders, protecting him and his ride from the bullets. The blonde then turned around and sent out dozens of birds. Naruto shoot them easily, but the man kept sending more and more. Naruto gritted his teeth in frustration and turned to the others. "Jackson, Annabeth, I need you two to control the guns while I drive." The two didn't argue and did just that. The son of Poseidon and the daughter of Athena went to the co-pilot seat and started shooting bird after bird, making them explode. Naruto then opened a red button and a missile shot out from the cargo hold. The man's eyes widened and he moved away, but it was too late. The rocket exploded and the man was forced to retreat from his ride. Naruto then sighed in relief. They lost the Akatsuki member, that's good. Naruto turned around to see a lot of people looking at him. "That was awesome," Nico shouted out and Percy was in agreement, although many tried to stop their heart from racing after that experience, Talia especially. Naruto chuckled and flew the rest of the way. But something tells him that it wasn't the last time he saw the man. He should prepare when he get back to camp. Right now, He should enjoy the flight and get to Southern Island soon. To be continued.